All right, welcome back, everyone.
Glad to be here.
You guys have been following along with all the changes happening in Canada's immigration system.
It's been a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, and especially, with these new temporary foreign worker program rules.
A lot of moving pieces there.
Oh, yeah, so we found this really interesting video analysis that we want to dive into today. And
Hey, this one's a good one.
it breaks down these changes and especially this wage hike that could impact, even something like the price of your morning coffee.
Yeah, it's pretty wild when you start to think about the ripple effects.
So I think, let's just jump right in
Let's do it.
this is going to have an impact on industries, on foreign workers coming in, and like I said, even on your wallet. So
Buckle up.
let's talk about the wage hike first.
Yeah, let's get right to the heart of it.
Because this is the big one, right?
Yeah,
So employers in the high wage stream,
the higher wage stream, yeah.
they now have to offer at least 20%
20%.
above the median provincial wage.
It's a big jump.
That's a huge change. So, imagine you're a business
Yeah,
and you're already kind of operating on, pretty tight margins.
especially in those industries that rely so heavily on the foreign worker program, right?
Exactly. Yeah, like think about agriculture,
Yeah, agriculture.
construction,
Hospitality.
hospitality, and it makes you wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah, is this going to lead to labor shortages? Are prices going to go up?
Yeah, those are big questions.
Big questions.
And then, on top of all that, let's think about the people coming into Canada, right?
Yeah, the human element of all of this.
Exactly. So imagine you're a foreign worker and you're trying to build a life in Canada.
Yeah, it's a big dream for a lot of folks.
Yeah, and suddenly it's like,
The goalposts have moved.
the competition's way tougher.
There are fewer jobs available.
Yeah, and that path to permanent residency.
It just got a whole lot longer and a whole lot harder.
Exactly. And navigating the system, it was already tough.
Oh, absolutely. Adding another layer of kind of uncertainty and complexity.
Yeah, and speaking of complex systems, we got to talk about the LMIA, right?
Oh, the infamous LMIA.
The labor market impact assessment. And even before this wage hike, employers,
They were already jumping through hoops
to try to justify,
to bring people in.
why they needed to hire foreign workers. And now with this added pressure of, proving that Canadians aren't willing to do these jobs.
At the new higher wages, right?
Yeah,
So how do you prove that?
it just seems like it's even harder now.
It's making the process even more difficult, for sure.
And then there's the low wage stream, right?
Right, which is sort of like the other side of the coin.
Yeah, but it's not.
Not a free pass by any means.
No, not at all. So,
You're trading one set of challenges for another.
yeah, so you might not have to go through all those hoops with the LMIA.
Right, you can kind of sidestep some of that.
Oh.
You've got these really strict caps on the number of workers you can hire.
And then on top of that, sometimes you have to provide things like,
Housing, transportation.
right,
There's additional costs for employers.
Yeah.
It's a fair trade-off.
are the workers getting a good deal? Are the employers?
It's a tough question.
It is, and what we're seeing is this ripple effect that's going from, like we said, farms,
Yeah, it's impacting the whole supply
the
chain
restaurants.
to our kitchen tables.
Yeah, and even potentially like on a much bigger scale with how Canada approaches immigration overall. So,
It really makes you think, are we seeing a major shift in strategy here?
yeah, is this the new normal?
That's the big question.
It is. But before we get into all of that, like all those big
The
questions.
long-term ramifications.
Yeah, exactly. Let's focus on some of the more positive things.
Silver linings.
Yeah, like what can foreign workers do?
What can they do to succeed in this new landscape?
Exactly. Because the source, the video we're looking at, had some good advice. So
Oh yeah, there's some really practical tips in there.
let's dive into that.
Let's do it. It's interesting to think that these regulations, these wage changes, could actually be a catalyst.
Oh, a catalyst how?
Well, it might force Canada to rethink its whole approach to immigration. It's like we might see a shift away from just trying to hit those immigration targets.
Yeah, just getting the numbers up.
Right, and move towards a more focused approach.
So quality over quantity.
Yeah, it's more about finding the right people.
People with very specific skills.
Exactly, the ones who can fill those really crucial gaps in the labor market.
That makes sense, especially with all the concerns about job competition and everything.
Oh, absolutely, and it's not just about filling the jobs that we have today, it's about
Planning for the future.
yes, anticipating what skills we're going to need down the road.
And how do you even predict that, right? Like the job market's always changing.
Oh, it's constantly evolving, and that's why this is so crucial. So programs like Express Entry,
Which already focus on those high-skilled workers.
exactly, they might become even more competitive.
Wow, so the bar's getting even higher.
Higher, yeah, newcomers are going to have to bring their A game.
They really are.
Yeah.
But what about the provinces? Because they always had a big role in immigration.
Huge role. And I think that role is only going to become more important.
Okay, so how do they fit into this changing landscape?
Well, they have the power to choose who gets permanent residency through those provincial nominee programs.
Right, the PMPs.
Yeah. And so we could see them being a lot more strategic.
Like tailoring their programs to attract very specific people.
Yeah, the ones who can help their local economies grow.
So it's almost like
A talent draft.
yeah, each province is building its own team.
That's a great analogy.
They're looking for those star players.
They want the best of the best.
Exactly. So, okay, so we've got this shift happening at the federal level. We've got the provinces stepping up.
It's a whole new ballgame.
But the question that keeps coming back to me is how do you balance all of this?
Yeah, how do you attract global talent while still making sure that Canadian workers are protected?
It feels like a really tricky balance.
Oh, it's a tough one, and there are no easy answers. This is a conversation that needs to involve everyone.
Everyone.
Like the government, employers, workers, and of course the newcomers themselves.
Wow, so it's like a big
roundtable discussion.
yeah, a national conversation. We need to figure out.
What system works best for everyone?
And it can't just be a them versus us mentality.
No, we need to move beyond that.
Right, because in the end, we all benefit from a strong economy.
Exactly, and a diverse, skilled workforce is key to that.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the challenges, the shifts,
Yeah, we've painted kind of a heavy picture.
but let's not forget about the opportunities.
Oh, there's still so many opportunities out there.
Because earlier you mentioned that, targeting high demand sectors is key.
It's more important now than ever.
Can you give us some specific examples? Like, what does that actually look like?
Sure, so even with these changes, there are certain industries that are just desperate for talent. Healthcare is a big one, technology, engineering. These are fields where
Then demand is just skyrocketing.
it is. There are just not enough skilled professionals to fill the roles, and
And with the new higher wages, those jobs might be even more attractive.
that's right. So if you're a newcomer with the right skills,
These changes might actually work in your favor.
it's all about perspective and being proactive. Do your research.
Know what employers are looking for?
Tailor your skills to match those needs.
Okay, so it's not just about having the skills, it's about knowing how to market yourself.
You have to stand out from the crowd.
You do. And you also mentioned open work permits earlier.
Oh yeah, those are a great option.
Can you remind us why they're so beneficial, especially now?
Sure, imagine you come to Canada, you're all excited, you're ready to work.
But you haven't landed that perfect job yet.
Right, so with an open work permit, you can work for any employer in Canada.
No restriction.
No restrictions. It's a way to get your foot in the door, start building your Canadian experience.
That's huge.
You can network. You can try different things, and who knows, it might even lead to a permanent position.
It's like a stepping stone.
Exactly, a way to test the waters.
Okay, so open work permits, definitely something to look into. And we can't forget about the provinces.
Oh no, they're key players in all of this.
And those provincial nominee programs, they sound like a pretty big deal.
They are. Remember, each province has its own unique needs.
Its own personality.
Yeah, exactly. And so the PMPs allow them to choose people who align with their vision.
So it's like a custom fit approach to immigration.
That's a great way to put it. You're more likely to find success if you match your skills with the right province.
Makes sense. Don't just apply randomly, do your research.
Exactly. Know where your skills are most valuable.
And then there's education. We've talked about that before.
Education is always a good investment.
But how can it help newcomers in this, kind of crazy new world of immigration?
Well, in a world where things are always changing,
Especially the job market.
yeah, education is your superpower. It gives you the knowledge and skills to adapt.
And studying in Canada, that comes with some pretty big perks.
Oh yeah, you get those post-graduation work permits, which can be a huge boost to your permanent residency application.
So it's like a 2-for-1 deal.
Exactly. You gain skills and you get closer to your goal of living in Canada permanently.
That's awesome. And, I think a Canadian degree is pretty valuable no matter where you go.
Oh, absolutely. It's recognized globally.
So, yeah, education, that's a big one. But, with all these changes, it can feel pretty overwhelming.
Oh, I know. It's a lot to take in.
Do you have any advice for newcomers who are just feeling lost?
Stay informed. That's the most important thing.
Okay, stay informed. How do you do that?
Well, there are a lot of resources out there, government websites, immigration consultants.
So don't just rely on word of mouth.
No, things are changing all the time, so you need to stay up to date.
Yeah, you need a good guide, someone who knows the ropes.
Exactly. An immigration consultant can be a lifesaver. They can help you avoid costly mistakes.
And develop a plan that works for you.
Exactly. It's about being proactive.
So be proactive, be resourceful, be informed. Got it. But there's one more piece of this puzzle.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about public perception.
Right, and how all of this is affecting how Canadians view foreign workers.
That's a really important piece of the conversation.
It is, and the source we were looking at, it kind of hinted that this is sparking a whole new debate about
what it means to be a Canadian worker.
Wow, now that's getting to the heart of it.
It is, and it's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, it's like we're not just talking about, like, economics anymore.
It's deeper than that.
Yeah, it's about identity.
It's about who we are as Canadians.
Right. Like, what does it even mean to be a Canadian worker in today's world?
It's a question a lot of people are wrestling with.
And these new rules, these regulations.
It's bringing those questions to the surface.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some pretty strong opinions out there.
Oh yeah, this is a hot button issue.
So, like, what are some of the main arguments you're hearing?
Well, on one side, you have people who are saying, look, these changes are necessary.
To protect Canadian jobs.
Exactly, to make sure that Canadians are getting fair wages.
And to prevent, exploitation of vulnerable workers.
That's right, they're worried about companies taking advantage.
Yeah, cutting corners to save money.
And that's a valid concern, but then
there's the other side.
Right, and they're saying, hold on, these regulations are going to hurt us.
Hurt businesses.
Yeah, they're going to make it harder to find the workers they need.
And Canada's going to fall behind.
Exactly. We need those skilled workers to stay competitive.
Especially the population aging and all that.
It's a real dilemma.
It is. Because on one hand, you want to protect what you have.
But on the other hand, you have to be open to the opportunities that come with globalization.
And it's not just about globalization, it's about technology too, right?
Oh yeah, technology's changing everything.
Jobs that exist today might not even exist tomorrow.
That's right, and the lines between what's a Canadian job and what's a global job.
They're getting blurrier and blurrier.
They are, so we need a new way of thinking.
We do. We need to move beyond those old categories.
And recognize that a strong Canada
benefits from a diverse workforce.
Exactly, a workforce with people from all over the world.
Okay, so where do we go from here? How do we actually create an immigration system that works for everyone?
Well, I think it starts with a conversation.
A national conversation.
Yeah, a real honest conversation about what kind of country we want to be.
What are our values? What do we prioritize?
And what role do we want immigration to play in our future?
Those are big questions.
They are, but they're questions we need to ask.
Because these new regulations, they're forcing us to confront those questions?
They are, and it's uncomfortable.
It is, but it's also an opportunity.
It is. It's an opportunity to rethink things.
To listen to each other.
To find common ground.
And to build a system that's fair and sustainable.
That's the goal.
It is, and I think we've just scratched the surface here.
Oh yeah, there's so much more to explore.
We've talked about the specifics of these regulations.
The potential impacts.
The challenges.
The opportunities.
And the big questions they raise about Canada's future.
It's a complex issue.
It is, but it's an important one.
One that affects all of us.
Exactly. So I hope this deep dive has given you all some food for thought.
Some new perspectives.
And some motivation to keep digging.
Because this conversation isn't over.
It's just beginning, so thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
And keep exploring, keep questioning, keep learning.
The future of Canada depends on it.
It really does. All right, we'll see you next time.